But talking about Beck, just real quick, she just came across from bare knuckle boxing. And obviously the big news on that one at the moment is that they've now got Paige Van Zandt that's just signed to bare knuckle. How do you feel? How do you feel about bare knuckle boxing first and foremost? And do you think that Paige has made a good move going, I guess, from the UFC to? I mean, apparently she's getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah. Multi-mil.
But do you think that it's a wise move?
Me personally, I mean, each to their own, but when you look at bare knuckle or Lethway, those are two things that I would never get involved in. I'm sure maybe someone will quote me on that if I ever do, but I highly doubt
Well, it's
that.
on the record right now.
Yeah, so we can snap this out and hold it against me for the next few years, but I really don't think. I think the thing with bare knuckle, and it's something that my partner's like, oh, I'd love to do bare knuckle, and a couple of my other training partners are like, yeah, I would love to do bare knuckle, blah, blah, blah. I understand the raw factor and the real primal, I guess, stripped back version of martial arts that you can benefit from bare knuckle, but at the same time, I fight for my future. I don't fight to be in like a coma or to be in bandages and strapped up and iced out for the next 2 weeks on painkillers because I've suffered that much damage. And you cannot leave a bare knuckle boxing unless you get a 3-second knockout. You cannot leave a bare knuckle boxing match without a bruise or a scratch or a hematoma or something. And those are all things that aid to brain swelling and brain hemorrhaging. So these are all things that longevity wise I'm not ever interested in. I want to fight for a very long time, and I'm young, so I want to be able to fight at least through another 5 years, and I feel like something like bare knuckle would really stunt that opportunity. So as much as it may be for other people, and I mean you can make great money off it, and that's the cool thing, it's adding a different aspect, but it is also kind of adding a really brutal kind of aspect, and it's bringing in a brutal demographic. In that sense, the guys that are like just bleed and that kind of vibe. And I don't know, for me personally, when you're sitting at a bar and you see those people watching MMA, it's almost like they kind of ruin the vibe, let alone if you had a whole like crowd of those people, wouldn't really be my sort of scene. But that's personal opinion, and I respect the guys that go in there because, man, it's a brutal sport, that's for sure. And I'm sure as much as Paige is benefiting financially, there is probably somewhat of truth behind the things that she's been saying. Like, she doesn't want to just be seen as the pretty face anymore. She really does want to be seen as a brawler, or not a brawler, but a fighter.
Which is kind of crazy though, because I mean her whole discussion was that she was making more of her Instagram than she was of the UFC, right? And I'm like, well, you're not wanting to be this pretty face anymore, but I'm kind of like, well, if
that's where you're making money.
That's where you're making your money right now, right? Like, or in her words, like I'm not even saying like that to say that's
100% what she's
right,
been
but that's
saying.
what she's been saying. So it's kind of like, and that's what I mean. Like, she must be getting paid some good money. But yeah, I'm the same. Like, I mean, it's entertaining in a sense. Like, you can't look away, but on the same token, I'm like, oh, I don't know if
even
I'd
watching
ever want to do that.
Paulie,
versus
Artem Lobov.
Yeah.
That was a horrible fight. Like, especially if you're looking at it from a technical aspect, especially Paulie, who was a great boxer and did not show as much of the skill that he is capable of in that fight. And Artem, who is not a great boxer, who showed that you can get basically through on grunt. And I mean, it just changed the sport, especially going through boxing in the last year, especially really honing it in as a art and a science. The sweet science kind of gets taken away when you add that brutal aspect of it.
And it's like you can win and still hurt. Like, the amount of times you see photos afterwards of the knuckles, and it's like
hands. Like, these are my money makers. What am I?
It's
I don't want to not be able to pick up my phone.
I honestly think it's like the last hurrah. It's like if you retire,
I'm a dip in and
you
dip
go,
out.
you go over there and you get your last little paycheck, and then you're out.
Experience, you've created your legacy. I also did this to tell my kids about it. Yeah, and maybe dip out, because that's not something you can do for a long time.